All right, guys, so we're going to do a little quick recap here of week 3 across mid-major college basketball. We're going to talk about some important games that occurred, important results for some of the teams that are in our top 25 mid-major rankings, and just for the resume building for the NCAA tournament as well. And then also just a couple teams that are really playing very well so far throughout the season. And then also a last little bit fun story about a team that is currently blowing past all expectations that was had preseason. So let's go ahead and dive into this one. So on Sunday, St. Mary's beat Nebraska 77-74. This was a huge win for the Gales. They are now 4-0 on the season. They should be 6-0 after this week. They play a non-D1 game, and then they play Cal Poly next weekend. So the Gales should be 4-0 after this coming week. They shot 11 of 23 in this game. They racked up 12 steals. The highlight for me, though, is Mikey Lewis. He had 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals. Let's be honest, we don't always know what we're going to get out of freshmen, but Mikey Lewis was a top 100 prospect. He was also a 4-star recruit, so you know he's going to be solid. But what he's doing so far is mind-blowing. He's averaging double-digit points already through his first 4 games. He's single-handedly taken over this game for the Gales today. Obviously, St. Mary's is a good team. They're very well-rounded. Saxon's great. They have NBA prospect. Like, the Gales are a very deep and well-rounded team. They're going to give Gonzaga a run for their money in the WCC. Are they going to beat Gonzaga? Who knows? But those games are going to be very fun to watch, and the St. Mary's team at this rate is going to be ranked in top 25 AP at some point in time this season, as long as they keep this up, of course. But this is probably one of the most deep St. Mary's teams that we've had in quite a while, so I'm super pumped to watch them as they continue this season. This was a huge win for them. I think the problem here is in terms of resume building, we don't know what Nebraska is really going to be like once they get into like conference play and kind of depending on what they do for the rest of the season. It could end up being a quad 2. I doubt quad 3, but it could, just depending on how Nebraska really plays. I don't think Nebraska is like highly favored at all this season. It's a great win for St. Mary's. It was great to see what they can do. Obviously, they are offensively very well rounded. They can rack up the steals on defense. They got big men down low that can take care of the boards. Like, this is a very deep team. I'm super pumped to watch St. Mary's moving forward, and I think you should as well. Another great game from Sunday was Boise State against Clemson. They won 84-71. Tyson Degenhart did his usual. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Andrew Meadow followed up with 18 points, 9 rebounds in this performance as well. Most notably, Boise State shot 45.5% from the floor. They shot just 7 of 24 from 3, which isn't terrible, but not great. They, most notably, though, shot 27 of 30 from the free throw line. Shooting above 60% in college basketball from the free throw line is a miracle in itself, it seems like these days. So, let alone shooting 90% while attempting 30 is impressive. They lived by the line in this game. It was really an impressive effort overall here. Free throws win people games. I don't care what anybody says. They out-rebounded Clemson as well, 42-34. I think the most notable thing to take away from this, though, is the fact that they held Clemson to just 36.8% shooting. They held them to just 24% from three-point. Boise State coming into the season was preseason ranked number 1 in the Mountain West. Mountain West is doing its usual thing, probably going to be 4 or 5 bids. I don't care if it's week 3. Realistically, they have enough teams in the conference that are that good, and they're going to continue to do this throughout the season. But Boise State in this performance showed why they were picked number 1 in the preseason poll for the conference. Clemson was 3-0 coming into this game. It was a very impressive game overall. The Broncos have stout defense, so if that defense can keep it up, they're going to be a dangerous team for any team coming up throughout this country on their schedule coming up. So they're going to look to go to 4-1 this week against Hampton. It's our only game this week, so they should go 4-1 with a win over Hampton. So just continue to keep an eye on the Broncos moving forward. This is a super deep, well-rounded team. Tyson Degenhart is just a stud, and he's going to continue to lead them offensively. So then the question is, can the defense keep up? If so, Broncos are going to be an absolute dominant team in a really hard get whenever it comes March. One of the most notable performances this week as well was North Texas versus Minnesota. North Texas won 54-51. A lot of people across social media was talking about this because the absolute defensive effort of North Texas in this game was absolutely insane. They held Minnesota to 14 points in the first half. At one point in time, Minnesota was shooting just 6% from the floor. Minnesota obviously made a comeback in the second half, made this more competitive game, but this is now the second time North Texas has done this. So they played Evansville in the first game of the year. They held Evansville to 17 points in the first half. Let Evansville, I'm going to say, get back into it. It ended up being a double-digit win for North Texas, so it really wasn't getting back into it. But Evansville played better in the second half and outscored North Texas in the second half. So Minnesota did the same thing here. They outscored North Texas in the second half in order to get back into this game. So I think a big key here moving forward is North Texas needs to be able to apply that same defensive pressure. Obviously, you're not going to hold people to less than 30 points a game. Seton Hall did it this week, but that's a different beast. They're playing Wagner. Regardless, though, this defense is insane. They ranked 20th in the country in defensive shooting percentage. They had a 7-to-1 steal ratio in this game. Offensively, though, they only shot 5 of 17 from 3, and they shot just 37.7% from the field. So going forward, they need to figure out the offense piece here. If they can do that, their defense is arguably one of the best in mid-major college basketball right now. So if they can keep applying that defensive pressure and then get the offense ticking up there a bit, I mean, you're talking legitimately one of the best mid-majors in the country if you can combine those two. A lot of ifs there. They rank 68th in KenPom now. This team has so much potential. This team has so much potential. This win alone shows what they can do. I'm super pumped for him. In this game in particular, Rondell Walker led the way. He had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. They have so many guys that can kind of step up when they need to. It's a really deep team overall. They're going to be a problem in the American. I think, again, it just comes back to the question, can they apply that defense pressure throughout the entire game? Second of all is, will teams understand what to expect when they play North Texas now? This is now the second time that a team in the first half has been held to less than 20 points. So going forward, are people going to understand how to play North Texas better? So then all of a sudden, that defensive rating that's insane right now is going to decrease a little bit. Regardless, they're a good defensive team. I don't think that any team's going to drop 50 on them in a half. I'd be shocked. But regardless, so if another team can start figuring out, you might see them drop down a little bit. But regardless, this is a great mid-major to continue to watch coming out through. Somewhat disappointing loss this week was Grand Canyon. They lost to Arizona State 87-76. Tyron Grant Foster made his comeback finally. He made a season debut and he led the way instantaneously. He had 19 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Grand Canyon did not play bad in this game. They just couldn't keep up with Arizona State. Grand Canyon shot 44.1% from the floor. They shot 41.2% from three-point. They just couldn't stop Arizona State. The Sun Devils shot 53.7% from the floor. The biggest outlier for me taken away from this game was the bench. ASU had outscored the Lopes 30-12. Grand Canyon scored about 80% of their points from just 4 players. So I think going forward, you need to be able to distribute those points a little bit more. Because whenever Grant Foster just made his first game of the season appearance here, and he already led the team in pretty much all statistics here. So you need to be able to make sure that your guys can get a breather. And this is a very deep team, and this is not a bad loss. Arizona State's a power conference school. They had one of the best recruiting classes in all of college basketball coming in the season. So this is not a bad loss. It just would have been an excellent resume builder for Grand Canyon had they been able to pull this win off. Overall, fantastic game if you caught that one. If you didn't catch it, highly recommend going and catching some of the highlights. I mean, this was a fun college basketball game to watch. Kind of give you March vibes in November, not going to lie. But again, just continue to watch Grand Canyon moving forward. The Lopes are a very well-rounded team. Grant Foster's back now, so it's going to just bring instantaneous value for what they can do this season. So continue to watch them going forward. I think one of the most underrated games of the week actually came from Murray State. Murray State beat Middle Tennessee 88-67. Middle Tennessee State coming into this game had one of the top 10 three-point defense ratings in the entire country. Murray said, nope. So Murray shot 52.6% from 3. They shot 10 out of 19, so they took that and threw it out the window. Texas Tech transfer Kyron Lindsey had 27 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 blocks off the bench for the Racers. Outstanding performance here. They held Middle Tennessee to just 4 23 attempts from beyond the arc. Stout defense as well. Murray's going to be a problem in the Missouri Valley. I've said it all offseason. The Missouri Valley is completely wide open. There is no team that is just light years ahead of everybody. Bradley was picked preseason 1 as they should be. Bradley's 3-1. They didn't look right against Washington State, but Bradley still has the potential to be very good. But Murray State is a team that could surprise people. It's great to see a Murray State team be playing well again. Their only loss of the season came against Pitt, in which it was a very close game up until probably the last 5 minutes or so, and Pitt kind of stepped on the gas. But regardless, Murray has the pieces to be a very, very, very good team this year. I think they're top 3 Valley at least. they have the potential to win. So make sure to keep your eyes on the Racers going forward. Super, super happy that we can have a really good Racers team, because when the Racers are good, college basketball is even more fun. Looking at a couple teams that are just continuing to do well, VCU is just stepping on the gas, just absolutely rolling over people. They're outscoring their opponents on average by 22 points in their first 4 games. They have 4 guys averaging double-digit points. They play Seton Hall this week, and I mentioned it earlier, Seton Hall's just not good. So VCU should move to 5-0. If you blow that game, that's going to be detrimental to the resume. But I think what's most outstanding here is, I know we talked about their offense and they were just like rolling over people, is their defense. They ranked 21st right behind North Texas in defensive field goal percentage. They also ranked 12th in scoring defense. After starting off 4-0, they're up to 34 in the Ken Palm. This VCU team is showing why they were picked first in the A-10. They are just stomping people right now. I know they haven't really played anyone of substance in their schedule so far. They played Boston College, but Boston College was picked last, I'm pretty sure, in their conference. So, like, not really stout opponents so far. And like I said, they're playing Seton Hall again. So, maybe take it with a grain of salt, but this is still a very good team. They're showing why they were picked first in the A-10 this year. The A-10 should have, I would argue, at this point in time, 3 bids. So this VCU team, make sure to keep an eye on them. I called Jack Clark out at the beginning of the season as a glue guy. He's really sticking to that. He's averaging 12.8 points, 7.3 rebounds, 1.8 assists. They have a very well-rounded team. Make sure to continue to watch VCU going forward. They are just stomping people. I think one of the surprises, unless you have been following me all offseason, probably really anybody else is not going to have known this going into the season, but the SIUE Cougars are now 4-2. They beat Indiana State 77-72 this week. They beat Western Michigan 79-60, and they also beat Canisius this week. Rayshawn Taylor is just going off. Against Indiana State, he had 22.6 assists, 4 rebounds. Against Western Michigan, he had 30 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. On the season, he's averaging 18.2 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and 1.8 steals. I love this man because he's like a homegrown talent. He's from Illinois. He stayed there his entire career. He is an SIUE, has had a really rough go at it since they moved to D1 the last 20 years. This is finally, in my opinion, the year that they can make the NCAA tournament. They're going to finish with a 500 record, over 500 record, easily. The Ohio Valley has really stepped up this season. I don't think people know it yet. It's going to be a very fun conference to watch. But SIUE, they are just offensively going off. They had a 16-2 assist ratio against Western Michigan. They had a 20-8 assist ratio against Canisius. They're out rebounding teams left and right. They shot 50% against Canisius, 50% against Indiana State, and 49.2% against Western Michigan. Another guy going off for them is Brian Taylor. He's averaging 12 points, 3.7 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 1 steal. They take on Green Bay and St. Ambrose this week, so you should beat St. Ambrose. And Green Bay's kind of produced mixed results so far. They could. That's going to be a good game to watch. Like if you want to pencil in a game this coming week to watch, highly recommend SIUE and Green Bay. Green Bay has some solid players in their team as well, and SIUE is looking to keep it going. So if they can beat both those games, they're 6-2, and I'm telling you, I've bet on these guys 3 times. I've won all 3 times. This is a team to watch. They can win they can win the Ohio Valley. I am so pumped for them because their fans deserve this. So 10 out of 10 recommend keeping tabs on SIUE. Rounding this week out with a little bit of a fun story about Columbia. If you've been following me, you know Columbia is just absolutely exceeding expectations this year. The Lions are 5-0, including their 98-80 win over Villanova. I had them absolutely nowhere near my radar coming into this season, but they are just mind-blowing, shocking people going on right now. They beat Lehigh 76-75. They out-rebounded them 40-27. They racked up 6 steals in that game. They beat Mercyhurst 77-63. They out-rebounded them 37-23 and 21-16 on assists. And they shot 53.6% overall in that game. The name to know is Geronimo Rubio de la Rosa. He is dominating. He's averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 2.2 steals per game so far. He's shooting 50% from the floor and an insane 48.7% from three-point. If you're subscribed to our Substack, you just got an article not too long ago about 5 guys to know. He was one of them. He is just going off this season and single-handedly making the Lions this team to watch, this kind of Cinderella story in the development Kenny Nolan's also averaging 13.2 points, 4.4 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and 1.4 steals. He's shooting 44.6% from the floor, 32% from three. Avery Brown is averaging 10.4 points, 2.2 rebounds, 2.6 assists. He's shooting 43.2% from the floor. These are three guys really making this thing work. The Lions are 5-0. They play Stony Brook and Long Island this week, so they have a great chance at being 7-0 following this week. I'm telling you right now, looking at their non-conference schedule, I don't want to jinx them, but they could go undefeated or only have one loss going into conference play. The Ivy League's fun this year. Yale's pretty solid. Princeton's obviously very good. And then Columbia's coming out of nowhere to really do this. It's phenomenal. Like, they have like Cinderella story in the making to them. I'm not saying that Ivy's going to be a two-bid league. It probably won't be. But if they make the NCAA tournament, that is a team to bet on because they have the potential to they just have all of it. They just have this makeshift, just story-esque feel to them. So keep an eye on the Lions going forward. I mean, this could totally crumble and fall apart. But as of right now, they're 5-0. Should be 7-0 following, by the time we're having this conversation next week. Keep tabs on them. This story's fun. All right, guys, thank you all for tuning in this week. If you have not, go to our Substack. The link is down below in the description, and subscribe to our email list there. You get weekly content from us. We do top 25 mid-major rankings. You get discount codes to some affiliates that we work with. And then you also are going to get all kinds of content about players you need to be watching, about teams you need to be watching, and so much more about mid-major college basketball. So if you're a mid-major college basketball junkie, you're not going to want to miss out on this. Go to bracketbusterhoops.com and subscribe to our Substack today. You're not going to regret it.